David Hogg will be out as a vice chair at the DNC.
I say
Yay.
yes. Ooh, I thought you were going to agree with me, but I think this is a good thing for Democrats. And again, we've talked about this at length. Democrats are on the verge of having their Tea Party moment. The New York Magazine even wrote it up on Monday morning as Democrats are having their Tea Party moment, which I think we should get royalties for, but that's neither here nor there. I think this is kind of part of the plan. I think David Hogg is, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, clearly has the ear and the support of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, which is overwhelmingly made up of Gen Z voters, right? This is, the human body sending out white blood cells to kill a virus, right? Democrats are trying to purge themselves of this losing mentality, losing strategy, sort of defeatist resistance, which has really characterized the party ever since Trump came down the golden escalator, right? We've talked about it. I mean, I feel like this is coming directly from my notes. It's time to put up or shut up. If David Hogg is purged from the DNC, which I guess we should probably give a little backstory. He is a vice chair. He's one of 5 vice chairs of the DNC. He's also launched this super PAC to actively play in Democratic primaries. Normally you don't do that on either sides of the aisle. They just wait and let the primaries happen, and then they back a candidate ahead of a general election. Ken Martin, the DNC chair, is saying, you can't do that, and we're going to change the rules to push you out of this current position. It's the biggest indication to me of Trump's entire political career that the Democratic Party actually gets it, and they recognize that what we have been doing, while it might make us tons of money and is a political cottage industry all of its own, is not actually a winning formula. And so now we have these two, not necessarily ideologically aligned, but politically, divergent sects of the party. And this is what needs to happen if they want to be an effective backstop against Donald Trump. It might fail miserably, but I'm happy to see they're taking the first step, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, okay, so as a conservative that views having an opposition party as extremely important, not just like democracy, but like also because I think having a formidable opposition party forces your own party to be better.
It's iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Like, I would view this as a very good thing if the DNC actually did succeed in getting rid of David Hogg, because on top of being incredibly annoying, all he's going to do is drive the party more towards this, Elizabeth Warren progressive strategy that we just had in the White House for the last 4 years, right? Even though Joe Biden campaigned as a moderate, he governed like, Elizabeth Warren style policy proposals. And that's why we had the worst inflationary crisis in 40 years. However, optimistically, that's different than what I think will happen.
Okay.
And what I think is that the Democratic Party remains beholden to the groups. So on the one hand, you have the actual electeds trying to triangulate and, pick their battles a little bit. Hakeem Jeffries telling his members, stop going to El Salvador to meet with a credibly accused wife beater who may or may not be a part of MS-13.
On an issue that has been politically damaging to us, at the least.
Damaging to all left-wing parties across the Western world,
Yeah.
right? The open borders issue. You have Chuck Schumer, who voted to, keep the government afloat just because, as he pointed out, we don't have, there are no real policy concessions we can get out of this. Let's hold our fire for something big. And, if Republicans weren't able to march so hard, in lockstep at the beginning, Democrats might have been able to choose one cabinet official to tank. Ultimately, no dice. But the groups still control everything. You have Randy Weingarten, who is the head of the American Federation of Teachers. She's totally backed David Hogg on this. And he's been made a celebrity by a lot of the cultural tastemakers on the left. And so it just winds up becoming what do Democrats want to be? Because right now they're operating as a minority party that has no long-term trajectory. And part of that might be just the pain of having, for 2 generations, you had one generational talent that was able to provide the coattails for the rest of the party where they didn't really have to try, right? You had Bill Clinton and then Barack Obama, and no one else really had to be anything. Where it got to the point where you had your, 98-year-old President Joe Biden, where he specifically chose the weakest VP candidate he could in the pack, so a shoe wouldn't be a threat to him, which is something that, like, historically very weak monarchs have done. They have tried to get rid of all the possible, people in the line of succession and only leave the weak ones. Like the fact that you have James Carville, this is a guy who ruined the lives of women who had slept with Bill Clinton or were allegedly assaulted by him, like for sport, right? Ruthless, totally cunning political operator. And now he's, apologizing to David Hogg on Twitter?
Well, he was very mean to him on television and then apologized on Twitter, yeah.
Because he's James Carville.
Yeah, that's his MO.
But, like, the line is David Hogg, the 25-year-old who got into Harvard after scoring, like, an 1100 on the SAT.
Yeah, look, Carville is a dubious character, to say the least, at this point in his career. But in that statement on Hogg, he said Hogg fights, and we have to back him. I'm at least happy to see Democrats are going to try and put up a fight as opposed to rolling over like we've seen over these last couple of months.